Welcome to another episode of The Brand Called You, a podcast and podcast show that brings you leadership lessons, knowledge, experience, and wisdom from thousands of successful individuals from around the world. I'm your host, Ashutosh Garg, and today I'm delighted to welcome a very accomplished professional and entrepreneur from New Jersey, USA, Mr. Brian Esposito. Brian, welcome to the show.
Hey, sir. Thank you so much for having me. I really
Thank
appreciate it.
Thank you. Brian is the founder and CEO of Esposito Intellectual Enterprises LLC. He's an award-winning serial entrepreneur and business leader. He's also the core part of an innovative team to build Noodle, the world's largest wireless network and ecosystem of connected devices. Not Noodle, no Nodal, I would say. So, Brian, before we get into the work you're doing, tell me about your journey as a tech guru at the cutting edge of technology, working with the best organizations.
Absolutely. So it's been now over 20 years of work that I've set out in my professional career.
Mhm.
Present day, there's well over 90 entities in my holding company. The holding company is wholly owned by me at the top level. Underneath that, like I had mentioned, there's over 90 entities that have exceptional management, technology, IP, products, solutions, and services. That encompasses also now well over 200 joint ventures around the world, and I'm proudly operating in over 25 different industries.
Wow.
So it's evolved into an amazing ecosystem of great resources, assets, and relationships and access. And that's all surrounded with exceptional legal, compliance, regulatory, and accounting. And it's a machine built to add value. And I get to work with startups, even at the Fortune 500 companies, and the whole goal is to work together, help these companies become self-sustainable, give them a right path to become earning profits and having positive cash flows, and building really valuable companies. This started in the late 90s when I built the first B2B, B2C e-commerce platform for
Wow.
the beauty industry.
Mhm.
Launched over 1,200 brands, had retail stores, great global distribution. And always thinking technology is going to be the most important aspect of maintaining this business that I was building, but also supporting growth and profitability. And through that, I was Google Checkout or Google Wallet's first client, first beta client. Even though that product didn't really succeed, it was still great to be working with that team. I
Mm.
became Amazon.com's first beauty luxe retailer. I was Jet.com's first retailer or e-tailer. And I knew I needed to continue to just keep building technologies and keep building great products and services. So
Incredible.
I used that beauty company to start building companies. If we needed some sort of piece of technology that I wanted to deploy, rather than me spending time and looking for it out in the world or looking for the right partner, I just put money and resources and talent in-house to build it. And we built products like Payback, which was the first peer-to-peer
Mm.
micro lending platform well before Venmo or anything else that's out in today's world.
Mm.
I built a company called Activity, which was the first identifying influencers. We did this in 2011,
Mm.
where why are advertisers spending so much money on these very amazing, iconic people when there's these micro influencers out in the world that have better engagement and better reaction from their audience, and you can get them on a much lower dollar.
Correct.
And then now that's led into things like Nodal that you mentioned, an incredible team I'm honored to work with, Misha Benoliel and Garrett Kinsman, the co-founders of that company. We built the world's largest wireless network, all backed by earning mechanism in cryptocurrency. So anybody around the world can download our Nodal Cash app. They can connect passively to nearby IoT devices, and for allowing us to use your phone to connect and pull that little packet of data from that Bluetooth IoT device,
Mm.
you earn Nodal Cash cryptocurrency. So it's an amazing company, a
Yeah.
very powerful global network,
Mm.
and it's just been an incredible journey. There's companies like Turncoin that we've created. It's the
Mm.
first registered SEC digital security.
Mm.
Rudolf Markroff, the CEO, honored to be working with him and this amazing team. And we've built the first way for people to buy virtual shares of people. So if you're a very iconic celebrity, a professional athlete, influencer, musician, anybody with influence and power and popularity, you have a great liquidity event to convert that popularity into money by people buying your virtual shares and being on your journey with you.
Mm.
The other part, which is very powerful for the billions of people around the world that are not yet professionals or not yet at that spotlight level, They can use this as a GoFundMe type of mechanism where they can sell virtual shares of themselves to their friends, their family, their teachers, their coaches, their classmates, their teammates, and they can continue to go after their dreams and passions, whatever they may be. If they want to be the next Derek Jeter, but they don't have enough money for a mitt or batting practice or batting lessons, they can sell some virtual shares to their community and their network, and they can bring in some money to continue to go after their dreams. The fun part is not only the issuer of these things, which would be the talent that's raising money to continue to go after their passions, it's the people spotting the talent also, where they can say, that's going to be the next Tiger Woods, that's going to be the next Billy Joel, that's going to be the next Taylor Swift. Whatever they're thinking, if they're supporting that player or that talent along the way, and they do make it, those virtual shares that the buyer was buying for pennies on the dollar at some point have a great upside because that person made it. They become very popular, they become very successful. Now those virtual share prices are much, much higher. So an amazing mechanism, great financial vehicle for people of all walks of life. And then we're sitting at a $15 billion valuation with that company today.
Incredible. Wow. And what an amazing journey and what an amazing story. And would I be right in saying that you probably one of the early or first incubators, private equity investors, given the fact that you started in the early 90s?
Yeah, and it's my model's still unique to this day. I don't believe in one unicorn and 90 failures makes me a success. I believe in supporting and helping all the companies that are within my holdings and giving them all the tools and resources they need to succeed, survive, and thrive. So I'm not a unicorn chaser. Again, I mentioned before, I want our companies to be earning positive cash flow, and I want their valuation to be a multiplier of their net earnings. That's how companies should be valued. That's how they're valued in the public markets. So, with that, it's very important that these CEOs and entrepreneurs don't get on this raise money, run out of money, raise money, run out of money hamster wheel, because ultimately what all happens is they dilute themselves out of their own company. And I always say you can't be half pregnant. If you're out raising money and trying to pitch your story, then you're not building and growing your business. You can't do both at the same time. So you got to get in the mindset, if you're going to go into being an entrepreneur, you're going to go into the startup world, or you're going to go, leave a safe corporate job, or you're no longer going to be a teacher and you're going to go out into the world and go after your dreams. You got to build a product that or something that the market needs and go and get one customer and service that customer and perfect the model, perfect your profitability and scale from there. It's not always true more customers means profitability and more money. What is true is make sure you're getting all the best margins and pricing on whatever you're developing. And when you deploy it to the market, make sure it can scale and make sure the pricing is right so you can make money.
Amazing. And given the diversity of and number of businesses, Brian, how do you manage such a diverse portfolio from technology to security to banking?
It's across, again, 25 different industries. We have a great hospitality concept known as EV Hotels. It's we're big in TV, film, and music. We have a treasure hunting division, aerospace, oil and gas. It's across the board, all different types of industries. And my mind works better with more. So the more dots that I have to connect, the more opportunities and success I can create. So a lot of people do one thing and do it great, but if the world doesn't need that one thing, and a lot of people have went through that with a global shutdown, you find yourself in a very dangerous and awful position. So I'm grateful that there's so much resources and opportunities within my holdings. The tricky part is I'm always the glue of identifying what's the play, when's the right time to go after that play, and who are the right companies or parties to do it with. I've always failed at trying to replicate myself. It's an impossible task, so I don't even try to do it anymore. But the great companies that I have in my holdings, also the great professional services that are wrapped around it, they all really understand how I work. It's all these companies that are in our holdings. It's guns on the table, CEO talking to CEO, and what's the opportunity? How do we work together? And how do we create value? And how do we put something into the market? And then my job is to tell a story correctly, and give that opportunity, the resources and fuel it needs to succeed. But you can only do that with the right mentality, people. I turn down more business than I take because if I'm not aligned with CEOs or senior management and our morals, our ethics, and the way that I operate, then I won't take on the opportunity. It's not worth it. If they tell me we can make $1 billion, but I don't necessarily like you, or there's definitely friction, or we don't align, I'm not going after that. I'm not going to waste my time because that opportunity will destroy everything that I've built, and I'm not going to put myself in that position.
Fascinating. You also say, Brian, that we strive to do business with good people. Help me understand how you define the word good.
Yeah, well, I'm nobody's judge, but I know what works for me. So
Yeah.
my definition of good is, you know, money's a byproduct of good people doing good work. So if you're going into a potential relationship with me, and you're just talking money things, and you seem to have a materialistic mindset,
Mm.
I'm not getting involved with you because
Mm.
you're going to be chasing materials and money, and that's your God, that's your North Star.
Yeah.
That's not mine. The
Mm.
money comes secondary to going after the opportunity, doing it correctly, and the reward is money. And the money is supposed to fuel that business to continue to grow further. It's supposed to help protect the investors, the employees, and it's supposed to build a business. It can go to fuel a certain lifestyle, but again, that's not how I'm wired. I'm not the Ferrari guy going on yachts, spending $1 million vacations.
Mm.
If CEOs that want to work with me act or operate like that, or they show off this flamboyant lifestyle on their social media, I know it doesn't work for me. If, God bless them, it works for them. That's
Absolutely.
great. Keep going. I don't wish anybody bad, but
Yeah.
I'm not chasing their lifestyle, and they're not going to use me to continue to support their lifestyle. So,
Mm. Well
to
said.
me, that's the most important aspect. And I got to see people with empathy. I need to see people understand that their decisions have consequences.
Mm.
And I never want somebody's decisions purposefully put their employees or stakeholders or partners in harm's way. So there's got to be a level of conscience, there's got to be a level of empathy, and there definitely has to be some very well grounded, humble senior management or CEOs that work well with me.
Mm.
Um,
That's,
there's no good or bad.
yeah,
Everybody's bad. Everybody's good.
absolutely.
Nobody's perfect. But for me,
No, no, I
that's how I can
understand,
only
and
work.
it's just your definition of the way you want to work, and you're drawing your boundaries and your parameters. Fantastic. So, Brian, let's talk a little bit about what's happening in the digital world. And given the fact that you're in so many tech businesses, I'd love to get your perspective on the metaverse.
Hmm.
And I would be surprised if you're already not invested in, given the fact that you seem to be able to find these investments well before others do. Help me understand, how will the metaverse change the lives of people?
Yeah, so your intuition's correct. I've been in this space since the beginning. We've got great holdings like Metasport Arena.
Hmm.
Honored to work with companies like Somnium Space, which has the Winklevoss twins investment from Gemini. And we have great NFT projects known
Hmm.
as Chain Tech Labs, Babes Clan. We've got great communities, amazing digital assets, and really well thought out metaverse experiences.
Hmm.
The majority of the world does not understand what the metaverse is. It
Yeah.
was like pulling teeth to get brands into our VR worlds over the last 5 years or so, and then over the last year and a half, every brand is flooding to do a news announcement that says they're in the metaverse. My suggestions with our own brands and
Hmm.
companies that I work with is you got to hit the brakes and take your time and do it correctly.
Hmm.
These NFT crypto metaverse communities are very, very smart people. They can be very emotional when it comes to which projects or companies that they support.
Hmm.
And if they don't see a real utility or a real value from the brand being in this metaverse VR world, and it's just fluff and it's just news, that does the brand or the piece of IP a lot of damage in the
Correct.
metaverse. But more importantly, you don't want these large communities to blacklist you in real life and say, we're not going to be buying your clothes, we're not going to be eating at your restaurants, we're not going to be buying your beer, if
Hmm.
they're not properly saying this is where our brand is going, here's the experiences, and it actually adds real value to the metaverse user or subscriber or community.
Hmm.
My job in this is the loop. The loop I see in the metaverse is another medium to give engagement, build community, and give experiences to people that want to know what your brand or your piece of IP is all about. But it has to go back to real life. There has to be some call to action where, again, people are pouring those drinks, they're buying a cheeseburger, they're buying clothes in real life. You cannot live in VR and the metaverse and survive 24 hours a day. You still need to get your products, your food, your water, your clothing, and experiences out in the real world.
Hmm.
Now, I've been looking at the metaverse and this movement much like what happened when social media started. It's another medium for connectivity, engagement. It's the next level of the internet. It's going to take
Hmm.
time for adoption. But more importantly, the talent in enterprises and small mom and pops
Mhm.
companies,
Mm.
they don't have the right skill set people to properly bring their brand into the metaverse and
Mm.
manage their brand into the metaverse. Much like there was no social media director when
Correct.
Instagram and Facebook and Twitter and MySpace started. There
Mm.
was no social media division.
Mm.
It was their marketing teams that were trying to figure out, what is this going to be? How does this work? How do we play in real life, billboards, commercials, and now social media?
Mm.
Now there's whole teams and divisions in the billion dollar industry.
Correct.
So that's going to be happening here. Take your time, is my suggestion to these companies and brands. They're very fragmented. There's a lot of metaverse worlds out there. We don't know who's going to be the authority. We don't know who's going to be the
Absolutely.
winner. But
Mm.
I believe that because these communities are so fragmented, if a brand's going to do it, they need to be in as many metaverses as possible to give that experience to their audience. And their
Mm.
audience is all over the map right now. They're in all these different metaverses, that because all these brands are picking one. They're picking this one. They're picking that one. They're picking this one. So what is supposed to be a complete Web3 open world is really becoming centralized again, depending on which brand goes to which metaverse. It's not
Mm.
interoperable. And that's one of the biggest issues that I see. That's why the brands need to be in as many as possible, don't alienate communities, and give some sort of experience in each of these different metaverse VR worlds. And it's not going anywhere. This is going to be a powerful medium for the future, and there's a lot of great things that are going to come from it, from
Correct.
music experiences to educationals
Mm.
to things like even being able to meet and sit with a doctor that you may not have been able to sit with because of geographical restrictions or because
Mm.
of money restrictions. So there's so many good things that are going to come from this, but it's still in its infancy. It's still trying to figure it all out.
Mm.
But we do know for sure that there's a lot of money being poured into it, as this is the next level of connectivity, the internet, and
Fascinating.
these experiences.
Mm. Fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. And when you look at the metaverse, um, some people have defined it as a 3D version of the current World Wide Web. Some people say that there are too many metaverses, and you just mentioned that yourself. Do you see a coming together of a lot of these metaverses into one massive metaverse?
That would be the euphoria goal, right? But I don't think business will allow that to happen. Data is king, and the data that these metaverses are collecting and the brands that they're partnering with, they're going to think that their value is, this is mine, these are my partners, this is our revenue, and this is our community,
Mm.
which is fine because they've spent a lot of money, and that's business. But for this to really flourish and thrive,
Mm.
I wish it was that interoperable uh, system, but because some are built on certain blockchains, some are built on others, some have different crypto partners and different technology platforms, you can't get a square peg in a circle hole. So I don't know if or when that could ever happen, but I wish the master planning of this was, it's an open metaverse world for all metaverse platforms to be able to be part of. But even doing that, there still would have been one main company or organization that master planned that. So I don't know the solution or the answer for
I
that,
can
except that I
imagine.
wish that was the case. But I think it's going to be these fragmented ones all over the world, which I'm not going to knock that, because it gives innovation to smaller tech companies that want to go into the metaverse world, build theirs, and they may have a unique angle, unique offering, and they can pull in a nice small community of people, and they can make a business out of it. So I do admire and love that it gives a chance for
Absolutely.
people to have their own, but I think it would have been a much more successful push if it was one complete open system for all to participate in.
Fascinating. So, Brian, I got time for two or three more questions. Given the fact that you've been doing this for so many years and doing it so successfully, I'm going to ask you to look into your crystal ball and tell me what, in your opinion, are some of the three predictions you see for the digital economy.
Well, one correction, it's been hell. My journey has been a very,
Okay.
very, very been to hell and back, hell and back, hell and back. So it was
Okay.
not easy, or
I can imagine. Yes.
very
Yes.
non-successful moments at times. But
Mm.
you grow, you learn, you evolve, and you do
Yeah.
better.
Mm.
For my three predictions for the digital economy, you said,
Yeah.
uh, it's great questions. I don't know if I have any predictions for the digital economy. well, we see fiat currency having more and more
Yeah.
less demand. So we're gonna continue to see cryptocurrencies and digital assets probably outpacing the regular physical dollar, whatever your
Correct.
currency is.
Mhm.
So it's a little weird, not for the younger generation, but it's really weird to go into a retail store or a restaurant and have them say they don't take cash.
I know.
That's a bizarre and scary
Mm.
thing if you think about it, because I've been in environments where whether it was a hurricane, an earthquake, a disaster, or the networks are down, and you can't do commerce.
Mm.
It's a little bit of a scary moment where you don't have that backup system in
Yeah.
place. If you're going to be completely digital, that's great, but if there's no power, you don't have access to the cloud, or there's no connectivity, does that mean you shut down your business?
Yeah.
So I really want governments and people to think that through, that cash or physical currency is very important in the event that you don't have a connected environment or a connected world. So, but we're seeing that push, and that's where you touch your card, you hold your phone near it. There's people don't even have cash in their
Yeah.
pockets anymore.
Mm.
So that's my first one. The second one is privacy is a big concern when you're in this digital world, and protection and security of your privacy.
Yeah.
And with everything on blockchain, it's fully transparent, which is great.
Mm.
But that means your entire life is once again elevated to complete visibility as to your entire world, where you're spending your money, how you're spending your money, when you're spending your money, and what you're spending your money on. Again, when it's a cash environment, at least there's some privacy as to your life. So in addition to your social media activity, now all of your payments and all of your life and your transactions can all be documented and publicly seen if you have a
Mm.
Docs wallet, and your crypto wallet has your
Yeah.
name on it. Or so things that people need to be careful of is your privacy, and you're really showing the world another level of yourself as far as your daily spend, and where and when you're spending your money. So that's a concern of mine. And the third prediction of a digital economy is I hope it doesn't grow too fast.
Mhm.
I hope it. I feel like it's going way too fast.
Mm.
That's one of the things that I love about certain industries like banking and
Yeah.
aviation, or even the sports industry. They usually take time to adopt things because they really think things through. They really look at every domino as to how is this going to work, how is this going to affect local economies, how is this going to affect global economies. But the pandemic changed all that, because these banks and companies and industries needed to stay in business. So they pushed through certain usual models of adoption because they needed to engage with their user or new user virtually. So there has been a huge push in things like Zoom taking off, for example. For the success of Zoom and Google Meets and whatever one you use, it really served a purpose, but it can never replicate in-person productivity. So
Mm.
now you've created this wedge where employer needs the employee in their offices or in their boardrooms or in their studios developing, designing, and working together, but the employees demanding not, because they've already become accustomed to working virtually. So there's this balance is off and productivity is off, and all because of this digital push of making sure people are connected, making sure payments are moving around the world. And now, like I said, privacy is a huge concern of mine and of people.
I
So
agree.
I mean, kind of not
No, no,
predictions, but where
absolutely.
I see the
Yeah.
problems lying in the
Mm.
future of how things are going and the speed that they're going at right now.
Amazing. Amazing. And my last question to you, Brian, and this is for the many, many people who will listen to you from around the world. And I may not have mentioned, but 74% of our viewers and listeners are under 34, and there's a large startup community. Given the fact that you are such an amazing entrepreneur, of course, you've had your own sets of challenges, but given what you've told me today, what would you say are three lessons you would want from your perspective and your learnings our viewers and listeners to take back?
Oh, so many lessons. So no particular order, but
Yeah.
first and foremost is never feel like you're being targeted or picked on. It's
Mhm.
just, whether you're a startup or a multi-billion-dollar organization, there's always problems,
Yeah.
and you should face those problems with pride, because the more you go through, the more experiences that you go through, the more seasoned you are to know how to handle problems, and the more prepared you are to really run your business and run
Mm.
your vision the way that you want to see it.
Mm.
I suggest going through as many problems as early as possible, because you really get a great foundation of what's important, who to surround yourself with, and have people know that you don't just cower down and sit in a corner and not fight back. So, you're not being picked on.
Mm.
Everybody goes through problems, and if your mental health and wellness is so important, because if you start to go in the tank
Yeah.
or get negative or
Yeah.
cry why me, or you get angry,
Yeah.
you're not even addressing the problems yet. You're
Yeah.
adding internal issues and demons that you need to overcome before you even can address the actual issues at your business.
Correct.
So you got to take a moment. You need to reset. You need to be calm. Never make a decision reactionary or from emotion. You always want to make any decision from a very cool, calm, and
Mm.
collective place. And
Mm.
once you start to reprogram yourself and reprogram your brain,
Mm.
you will make smart decisions. You will think clearly, and the people around you will trust and have confidence in that you are a leader.
Mm.
And it doesn't happen overnight. I'm Italian, Sicilian Italian DNA. I'm very emotional and
Yep.
passionate person, and
Mm.
these are things that I had to work on when someone would either steal from me or put me in harm's way, or
Mm.
all kinds of crazy things that
Yeah.
I've been through.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the next lesson that I had to learn and really overcome, and it changed
Mm.
my whole life, was to stop giving other people my mindset and my mentality.
Yeah.
When someone would hurt me or put me in harm's way or steal
Mm.
from me, like I mentioned, or the list goes on. I had to stop saying, why did they do that? I would
Mm.
never do that. And then you start to run through all these opinions, and you start talking to other people. It's all a waste of time.
Mm.
When you boil it all down, the true issue is me. What did I do to
Mm.
allow that person to be in my life? Why did I see what was coming? And any effect that they had on me, whether positive or negative, it's all
Mm.
my doing. So that's when you start to learn how to really evolve as a person. And the more people that you meet that aren't the greatest, that are there to use you, take advantage of you, or abuse you,
Mm.
you meet them, you let them hurt you, you learn from it, and you become stronger. And then you pinpoint and identify the next
Mm.
person that has similar traits, and oh, that's just like so and so, not getting involved in that person, and you just keep moving forward.
Mm.
So, what was the most important thing in my career was to, again, not let other people give other people my mindset. Once
Mm.
I figured that out, I was much more happier. I slept better at night. And I thank people that hurt me at this point in my life, because they showed me yet again another vulnerability that I have. When you allow someone the opportunity to really affect your day or affect your life or affect your business, can't point the finger at them. The finger is pointed back at you, because it is your doing and your fault. And that's okay. You work on it. You become better. You become more successful. I often say you can be an overnight success if the next day you wake up smarter, stronger, and wiser than you were the day before. That's a true overnight success, and you keep replicating that.
Mm.
And the third lesson is, do not compare yourself to any other business out there.
Yeah.
You are out there, and you want to create something. You want to build a company. You want to be your own person. You want to put your mark on this world. If you're sitting there comparing yourself to other companies like yours that are raising millions of dollars, that are raising billions of dollars, you are never going to feel adequate. You are always going to feel down on yourself, and you're always going to feel not accomplished. You need
Mm.
to look at your wins, no matter how small they are. You need to value and appreciate and cherish your wins and what you've overcome and where you are. But if you're sitting there looking at other companies that have a whole different set of resources, tools, and relationships than you, and you're saying, why did that company make all that money? Why did that company raise all that money?
Mm.
You're asking the wrong questions. That's not your company. That's not your thing.
Well
What
said.
is yours is what you need to value and appreciate, and you need to stay focused on what is yours and grow yours a little bit each day.
Mm.
And if you're careful with how you spend your money on your personal life, you can have a very nice life with a very small company. And
Mm.
you can have a very even better life with a small company with no other partners or no other influencers that are dictating where they want to take your life.
Correct. Correct.
So just be smart, be appreciative, and find self-value and stop comparing yourself to anybody else or any company out there, because it'll destroy you.
Very, very wise words indeed. Thank you. And on that note, Brian, and your three amazing lessons: never feel like you're being targeted. Said everything with a cool mind. Mental health is very important. Stop giving others your mindset and do not compare. Thank you so much for speaking to me about your own journey. Congratulations on all the amazing investments you seem to be making and will continue to make. Thank you for talking to me about some of the investments that you're making and how well you're working with some of their founders and the CEOs. Thank you also for speaking to me about the metaverse at such length. Thank you for talking to me again, and good luck to you.
Thank you, Ashutosh. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to the Brand Called You videocast and podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website www.tbcy.in to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the Brand Called You.